Okay, so now we are doing this back section here. So here was this flap and this page that we've already done. Now we're doing this. So we're going to be making these upper and lower flaps first. So you are going to make those flaps. You are going to cut one piece 6 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. And this is going to be your bottom flap. So just label that the bottom flap so you don't get it mixed up with the upper flap. This upper flap is 6 1/4 inches wide by, add just a little bit more, 1/16 by 6 inches tall. So this is going to put, I'm going to put upper flap. So for the bottom flap, you are going to put it with the 5.5 inch side up, and you are going to score it at 4 1/4, 4 1/4, and 4.5. Is that right? Why do I have such a big space there? I don't remember. Is that right? Doesn't seem right. Something doesn't seem right. It's the bottom flap. Yep, that's right. Okay. For the upper flap, you are going to put it with the 6 inch side up, and you're going to score it at 4 3/4 by 5. So these are going to give you 1/4 inch gussets. So go ahead and fold and burnish those, and make sure you get them nice and straight. And get them real crisp. So get those edges real crisp. Let's start with the upper flap. So here we have the inside. Here's your folio. Here's your closure flap. This is the inside back. So this is 6.5 inches wide. So you are going to adhere this in the center like this. Just get it centered and adhere that down. Make sure you flatten out that gusset and then put it in. Get that down. And then same thing with this one. Flatten out your gusset. Get this down. Center it. And the only reason I have this one a little bit wider is just so I make sure that this is covering the bottom flap. I mean, it's just a little extra protection in case I get off. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere those, and I will be right back. So I have the upper flap in and the bottom flap in. The upper flap, I rounded my corners with my corner rounder, the large. So if you open up the flap, you are going to come to the back side. So what you're going to do, you're going to get this piece of paper again. You've already used it once, but you're going to use it again for the back side of this. So you're going to cut a piece that is, this is 6.5 inches, so 6 3/8 inches wide by 8 inches tall, and you are going to adhere that down, covering up the edges of these flaps here. So get that down, paste that down. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to waste my paper. I can use this for another project. So get that piece of paper down. So this is the upper flap, the lower flap, and here now you have this piece of paper is going all the way down. So now we're going to make these two pockets. We've got a pocket here and a pocket here. So for this bottom pocket, it is, you're going to cut a piece 7 1/8 inches long by 3 1/2 inches tall. And what you're going to do, you are going to score it on 3 sides. So put it, oh, did I cut it wrong? 7, no. Put it in, score it at a 1/2 inch. Turn it over, 1/2 inch. Turn it 1/2 inch. So that's going to make our bottom pocket. The top pocket, we're going to just score it on the ends. 1/2 inch here. 1/2 inch here. And then we're going to flip it to the long side with the 2 3/4 on top, and you are going to score it. I want this to be 2 inches, so I'm going to score it at the 2 inch mark right there. So you have those pieces. Now this one, we are going to be cutting a window in here. So we are going to have a, I think this is a 1/2 inch border all the way around. So you're going to mark out those lines, and then you are going to cut it with an X-Acto knife. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark mine out, and I'll be right back once I get it all marked out. So for this bottom pocket, this pocket down here that has the acetate window, you're going to fold at those fold lines, you'll score lines, and you are going to measure off a 1/2 inch all the way around. So just get your ruler, 1/2 inch down here, fold this bottom part under, 1/2 inch here, fold this flap, 1/2 inch here, and at the top where you don't have any folds, you measure a 1/2 inch also there and mark it off. So this is going to be where we're going to be cutting our hole for our acetate. So once you get those, let me get my pick tool. So what I do is I find the intersection marks and use my little pick tool to put a hole, and that just helps me so I can actually feel the cutter, the straight edge as it pops into those holes. Hopefully I got them right, since I am not the best seer. Yes. And then get my ruler, my straight edge. And then this you would just, I normally I'd have my head way down, but don't want to get it in the frame. So I fill that hole there. So now I'm going to line it up. Line this up best I can as I show you what I try to do. I can tell I need a new blade. Definitely need a new blade. So that one, and then find my little hole divot there. Get this lined up. Definitely need a new blade, but demonstration purposes, we will leave it like it is. Find my little divot there, line this up, go to that next divot, last one. Find my little divot there, line it up. Go to my next divot. So there's my window. And it's pretty good, considering normally I have to have my head way down there. I think it's pretty good. And then you're just going to cut out a piece of acetate to fill in here. So you just measure it, and I am going to cut a piece that is like 5 and a half by 2 and maybe 5 and a half by 2 and a half. So I'm going to do that and be right back. So I added my acetate window. Remember, just put a thin line of your, at least what I use is my 1/8 of an inch score tape right next to the window, and then attach the acetate. And then I used a little strip of my black construction tape, kind of cut it so it outlines, you can see where it's outlining the paper. That way nothing, this is all free from friction, so anything you put in this pocket won't be catch on anything. So to mat this, you're going to go to this paper. This is from the Patterns and Solids, and I cut this piece to 5 3/4. It doesn't have to go end to end if you fold in the pockets like this, because you're going to put, got to fold in all the pockets. Carla, fold in all the pockets. I guess you could apply it, you can adhere it to your, your folio first. I'm not going to. You can, you should, but I'm not going to, because I don't know if I'm going to use that folio, and I don't know if I want to use this paper, because I might be using that folio for another project. But you're going to be putting this green paper down here. It doesn't have to go end to end, because what you're going to do is you're going to put down these strips. These are, like I said, 5 3/4. Just get them down. And once you have those secured and they are down, these two upper strips, then you're going, these are 1/2 inch strips, a little less than 1/2 inch. You're going to cut these side pieces, and you are going to adhere it from this top end, and then just mark it where you need to cut it on this side. And then with this piece, same thing. Adhere it to the top part here, get it centered with this side piece, and then if you need to trim it at the bottom, trim it there. So that will be your frame. Okay? So remember, this pocket piece is going in here. You've already put this paper behind it, right? Got that centered, so this is going to go all the way down here. So that's where you're putting this. I also make sure you miter the corners on your pocket here and miter these corners right here. I could do that because I might use this for something else. Miter that, miter these. And this top part there. So when you put this in, you are going to make sure it's centered with that flap below it. And I always put this piece down first, and then I add my black construction tape here, so whatever goes in the pocket doesn't catch on that lip. And then you have your score tape here on the sides. So it's going to go like that. Now with this other piece, this piece, the way you're going to be putting this in, you're not folding this bottom one. That's going to be your guideline right there where you made that mark. This is at the 2-inch, scored at 2 inches. You can go ahead and fold this and this, but what you're going to be doing is you are going to be slipping this into the pocket here, and if I can get it into there, and you probably have to miter your corners. I'm going to miter these a little bit. Just cut it to that score line. That way this kind of slips into the pocket. Go from that score line. Slide it into this upper pocket. Oh, I need to cut it, huh? Yes, I do. Forgot I have only half an inch border there. Huh. Okay, so Carla, what you're going to do, this cannot be more than a half an inch, can it? No. So that was 2 inches. You want this lined up with that 2-inch mark. So I'm going to have to trim off some of this. This is a half an inch, so I'm going to trim this down and I'll be right back. So I trimmed this bottom piece off so it's less than a half an inch. I went ahead and cleared this edge up so we just have, it looks like this. These two edges look like this. And then I mitered the top of the pocket right here and here. So this is the way it should look. Remember, you do not fold this at all. We are using this score mark as a guide as to how far down the pocket goes. So this is down here. This is you're going to fold this. You got your score tape here. Fold that. This is going into this pocket, and then you're making sure the top of this pocket is aligned with that score mark right there. So once it's all lined up, go ahead and pull your score tape on the sides of everything so you have this unit in place. For the top of this pocket, let me show you what it looks like. For the top of the pocket, you are getting this from the 8x8 collection. This is all I have left. It's not a complete one, but it's from this page with the polka dots. You are getting the bunny, and you are cutting it from the green here to the green on top, okay? And then this is 6 inches long. Pretty sure that's 6 inches long. Yes, it's 6 inches long. So you're going to hear that stripped down, and then you're going to get this paper from the Patterns and Solids. It's also going to be 6 inches. It's not long, it's wide. And then measure what you need to go fill in this space and go down a little bit into this pocket. So you just want a little bit going into this pocket here. Okay, so that will be your 2 pockets. So you're done with this centerpiece. Now we need to work on the upper and lower flaps. Now for the lower flap, you are just cutting the same green paper. You are cutting it here. You're putting a little blue piece of this solid paper, and that is coming from, I don't have any more of it. I don't think I have any of this left, do I? Nope. It's coming from this paper of your 8x8. See this little edge right here? You have this edge all the way around this sheet. So you're cutting that strip. You are just cutting the blue part off. See that blue part? You're just cutting that blue part off. There's just this blue part right here. So you're cutting that. This is like 6 1/8 inch, a little bit more than 6 1/8. Yeah, 6 1/8. It's not. It's basically 6 1/8 plus 1/16. It's, you measure yours. Put that down there, and then the rest of this is going to be just using this paper again. This green paper, you're going to be cutting a piece that's the same width as this, and mine is 3 3/4 inches tall. That's all I did. I just butted it up to this strip and then filled it in with the rest of this paper. And then I just cut out a piece of the solid green to make a mat. And I just cut this to 4 7/8 by 3 1/8, and put that down here. So that finishes this part down here. Okay. This top part, oh, life is a beautiful day. That is coming from this part of the paper right here. A beautiful day. A beautiful day. That's coming from here. So you're going to cut that out, and I cut it so it's just above the green line here. So my piece measures almost 3/4 inch. So that, and I included the bottom row of dots down here. So here up to about there, 3/4 inch would be, it's not quite 3/4 inch, but you get the idea. So cut a strip here. It's probably 5/8 inch wide. Put that down here. Fill the rest with this paper, this springtime paper. Do not adhere this paper down yet, because we are using this as a closure. So for this closure, so before you put this springtime paper here, I cut out with my die. This is, I think it's 1.5 inches in diameter. Yeah, it's 1.5 inches in diameter. So any circle punch or die that you have that's about this size, you are going to put that like this. So it's halfway on the paper, halfway off, and you are going to be putting a magnet on here. So you're going to be putting a magnet up there, like that. And then you're going to cover it with another piece. This is a 1 1/4 inch piece, not this paper. I'm just showing you. You're going to cover up that magnet with another piece of designer paper. So that's going to cover up the magnet. Then you can put this paper on top. Now what I also do to make this have a nice black line here, because I have the designer paper there, is I get my black construction tape and I just adhere it, have this down, and then I adhere my black construction tape over this designer paper along this edge of this paper. so I have this black line showing here. Let me show you with this. So here's our circle punch. The magnet is, show you where the magnet is. God, these magnets are so strong I can't even lift them up. There's the magnet underneath that designer paper. And if you can see, there is black going across this designer paper. That is black construction tape. You can't see it, but it's just there to make this line going all the way across. So that just makes it look like you got cardstock. Because if you just put this down, you will notice there's no black over this piece of designer paper. So got that. So get this in, get this piece on, put your magnet, and then get your designer paper over it, and then you can adhere this piece down. Got it? Good, good. Oh my gosh, I know this is a lot, but I've totally lost my construction video for this. So the bottom of this is where you're going to be transferring your magnet. So you are going to get your magnet, you're going to transfer it down here on this bottom flap. Let me show you where the magnet is. Well, there it is. That's where it's going to be transferred. Then you're going to cover this with the pink paper. And I put an edge of this paper here, which once again is just utilizing this strip from this paper. See how you have the green and the blue, the green and the blue, green and the blue. You're going to cut out a piece there, put the blue on top, and then the green facing the bottom. Get that adhered down, and then put your pink striped paper over your magnet. So you have this paper in, you got your magnet, transferred the magnet, put this paper on. All that's left is this. This is your bunny paper. Now for this bunny paper, what I did is I wanted to pretty much center this jumping bunny in the center of that flap. So I just cut it there. And then I added a little strip of green because I thought it was too much blue. So I added just a thin strip of that green paper, the light green paper. Actually, it was, yeah, just that light green paper wherever it is. That's all I did. And that strip of light green paper, I think it's just like 1/8 of an inch, is actually 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch green paper, and that is like 1/2 an inch, yeah, 1/2 an inch above from the bottom. So just get this bunny paper in, round the corners before you put it down, and then you're going to put a strip of this light green paper, 1/4 of an inch at the bottom just to break up the blue. And then I actually cut out this butterfly from, I think, one of the cut-aparts. On the back of it there's a little butterfly, and I just cut that out and put it there. And on the front of this flap I used that light green paper again, and I found this little pink butterfly somewhere. There's lots of little butterflies, and I just did a little circle punch to get that little butterfly out. So this is what this looks like. Hopefully that makes sense. So got our flap closure, got that, got this, this. Now to cover, well, we're not going to cover this yet. We're not going to cover this until we get our magnets in, so don't do that. Here is our spine. This is our 5/8 of an inch spine. So this is 5/8 of an inch. So this was, I believe, I cut out a 1/2 inch strip. Yeah, it's a 1/2 inch strip of this this paper from the Patterns and Solids. Put that in from top to bottom. That's 8 inches tall. I'm pretty sure they're all, yeah, 8 inches tall. Here is this little gusset. This is a 1/4 of an inch gusset. So I just made this a little bit less than a 1/4 of an inch. It's basically an 1/8 of an inch. I put the same paper in that gusset. And here is our other 5/8 of an inch spine. So I put another 1/2 inch of this paper from the Patterns and Solids in there. And this was 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch. So this is, what did I put? This is a 2/8, which is 1/4 of an inch. Yeah. So this is 1/4 of an inch strip. 1/4 of an inch strip, half an inch, 1/2 inch, 1/8 of an inch. So those gussets are all filled. Okay, so the inside, other than this, because we haven't transferred our magnets, that is done. So now we need to work on the front and the back and transfer our magnets.